or have another print disability which makes reading, holding a book, or turning a page difficult or impossible. The content is copyrighted by the respective publishers. For more information, please visit us on the web at nfradioreading.org.
Hello, this is Bruce, and for the next hour, I'll be reading from current issues of the Niagara Gazette on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. From Friday, March 13th, 2026 issue, one of the top stories, pothole killer set to roam Falls streets again. Council approves contract for road repairs. Article by Rick Pfeiffer. A unanimous Niagara Falls City Council has approved a plan to attack the city's pothole problems with a combination of overtime for Department of Public Works, DPW, road crews, and another return of the pothole killer. But while there were no dissenters to Mayor Robert Restaino's request to once again contract the pothole filling machine with supplement that work with traditional patching, council members said they are intent on improving the street repair process in the future. It's incumbent on the council to find other options for fixing potholes, member David Zajac said. Finding something other than the pothole killer depends on working with the Restaino administration. The use of the pothole killer has been a source of frustration for both motorists and City Department of Public Works employees, who argue the machine's use of sludge-like material rather than asphalt does not adequately address the holes created by the winter's freeze and thaw cycle. DPW workers have already begun doing pothole repairs using a product known as Cold Patch. Cold Patch is described as a temporary fix until hot asphalt becomes available to fill holes when plants that make it reopen in the spring. In 2025, the city contracted with Patch Management, Inc. to provide the services of its pothole killer truck, an operator, and 100 tons of asphalt patch at a cost of $99,600. The 2026 contract with Patch Management calls for the same terms, with no increase in price. The pothole repair plan will also involve funding for 84 hours of overtime, 4 hours per day for 21 days, to have the city's DPW road crews supplement the efforts of the pothole killer. The overtime the overtime cost would be $100,870. Council member Vincent Cawley said he would back the plan because the city's pothole problems were at DEFCON 1, or maybe DEFCON 4. But Cawley also expressed dissatisfaction with the quality of the pothole killer's repairs and urged city administrators to start looking now for a better plan next year. Fatal fire investigated. Man dies after being pulled from Oliver Street building, Wednesday. Investigators with the North Tonawanda Police and Fire Departments are investigating a fatal fire at an apartment building on Oliver Street. First responders were called to 526 Oliver Street about 2:50 p.m. Wednesday for a report of a fire and arrived to find smoke billowing from the upper windows of the multi-family dwelling. Firefighters made entry into the building and, while searching for the fire, located a man on the second floor and extricated him from the building. Aid was rendered, but the man died at the scene. Channel 4 News reported that the victim was a 62-year-old man. There were no other immediate reports of injury. The fire displaced several families living in the building on Oliver Street between Wheatfield Street and First Avenue. The cause of the fire remains under investigation and does a final damage estimate. NT City Attorney charge. Arrested for public intoxication in Myrtle Beach last month. Article by Mark Shearer. The city of Tonawanda's lead attorney was arrested for public intoxication last month in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. As was first reported by WKBW News Channel 7 in Buffalo, Myrtle Beach police arrested and charged City Attorney Edward A. Zabulski the third on February 19th. A copy of the police report from the incident, obtained by the Niagara Gazette, indicates that Zabulski's arrest was made by police officers responding to a report of a disorderly disturbance at a Red Roof Inn in Myrtle Beach. According to the report, a hotel manager reportedly contacted police after finding a highly intoxicated man lying outside the building. The man allegedly entered the building, acting loudly and throwing objects in the lobby. The report indicates police said they arrested Zabulski in connection with the incident after finding him disoriented with cuts on his feet. Contacted Wednesday, Zabulski said he would release a statement on the incident later this week. A representative from the office of North Tonawanda Mayor Austin Tylock did not respond to a request for accusations. That is why I have no intention of resigning my position. Mayor Austin Tylock, along with members of the North Tonawanda Common Council, have reportedly called on Zabulski to resign. The role of city attorney is an elected position in North Tonawanda. In his most recent incident, a copy of a police report from the incident obtained by the Niagara Gazette indicates that Zabulski's arrest was made by police officers, and that is in connection to the incident after finding him disoriented with cuts on his feet. Forged Canadian passports seized at Peace Bridge. 3 Canadians arrested following wrong turn onto international span. A wrong turn onto the Peace Bridge from Ontario recently led to the arrest of 3 Canadian citizens involved in creating forged passports. Members of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, Federal Policing Central Region, charged the 3 Canadian residents after the Canada Border Services Agency seized multiple forged Canadian passports at the Peace Bridge port of entry in Fort Erie, Ontario. The investigation started after the individuals were referred by Border Services officers for a secondary examination when returning to Canada after taking a wrong turn toward the bridge to the USA. During the secondary examination, Border Services officers, with the assistance of a detector dog team, located 6 forged passports, equipment consistent with the production of forged documents, and $24,000 worth of U.S. and Canadian currency, approximately 84 credit cards, debit cards, and gift cards, as well as drug paraphernalia. Border agents arrested the 3 subjects and seized the forged documents, currency, cards, and other materials related to the alleged offenses. The RCMP's Niagara-on-the-Lake Border Integrity Unit then took over the investigation and arrested Dominic Cherubini, 51, of Granby, Quebec, Meng Nguyen, 40, of Montreal, Quebec, Christian Ngenzi, 33, of Montreal, Quebec. The 3 are charged with knowingly possessing of forged document, to wit, 6 forged Canadian passports, possessing 84 credit debit cards, knowing that the said cards were obtained by the Commission in Canada of an offense contrary to Section 342(1) of the Criminal Code, defrauding various Canadian banks of money exceeding $5,000. Superintendent Dale Foote, officer in charge of federal policing, Central Region Border Integrity, said the successful outcome of this joint operation reflects the professionalism and vigilance of our frontline officers and our strong partnership with the Canada Border Services Agency. The interception of these forged documents and related materials underscores the critical role our agencies play in protecting Canada's borders and safeguarding the integrity of our identification system. We remain committed to working collaboratively to detect, disrupt, and investigate criminal activity that threatens the safety and security of our communities. School teacher faces federal charges over prostitution parties. Former Rochester Schools employee faces up to 5 years in prison. A teacher from Rochester is facing federal charges related to prostitution parties at his residence. A federal grand jury returned an indictment Thursday charging Eric Simpson, also known as Major Hands, 66 of Macedon, with use of interstate facilities to promote, manage, establish, carry on, and facilitate a prostitution enterprise. The charge carries a maximum penalty of 5 years in prison, according to U.S. Attorney Michael DiGiacomo. Assistant U.S. Attorney Casey L. Chalbeck, who is handling the case, stated that Simpson was recently a public school teacher in Rochester who lived on Canandaigua Road in Macedon. According to the indictment, between 2021 and December of 2025, Simpson maintained and utilized his Canandaigua Road residence as a location where commercial sex workers met with customers and engaged in commercial sex transactions. Simpson regularly promoted, managed, and carried on prostitution parties, arranging to have commercial sex workers present and available to perform commercial sex acts with himself and with those he invited to the parties. Simpson promoted the prostitution parties via email. In these emails, he detailed how many women would be present, sometimes identifying them by first name. Simpson managed the term of the prostitution parties, including setting a cover charge for admission to the party, designating what rooms and other accommodations would be available, and telling prospective customers where to park to avoid being parked too close to his house. The emails directed customers to negotiate donations for services directly with the dancers. In addition to the prostitution parties, Simpson promoted, established, and carried on prostitution activity by authorizing commercial sex workers to use his residence to meet with customers and engage in prostitution services even when he was not present. Simpson utilized the internet to advertise which commercial sex workers were working out of his residence and to inform prospective commercial sex customers what specific sex acts the commercial sex workers would perform. Simpson was arraigned before U.S. Magistrate Judge Jeremiah J. McCarthy and was released on conditions. The indictment is the result of an investigation by Homeland Security Investigations under the direction of Special Agent in Charge Aaron Keegan, the Macedon Police Department under the direction of Chief John Colella, and the New York State Police under the direction of Major Kevin Sucker. State police identify 1970 cold case victim. Partial body found in New York determined to be that of a Pennsylvania man. On March 20th, 1970, the body of a male was located without a head or hands on Davis Hill Road in the town of Andover. Over the course of nearly 56 years, investigating members of the New York State Police continued to track down every lead, but the identity of the man could not be determined. Andover is about 45 miles east of Olean. On June 7, 2022, an examination of the body was conducted for the purpose of collecting DNA. With the assistance of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the DNA was ultimately used to determine the body to be that of 35-year-old Clyde A. Coppage, who had been living in Genesee, Pennsylvania, at the time of his disappearance. Coppage was not originally from the area and had never been reported missing. The Bureau of Criminal Investigation out of State Police Barracks, Amity, are now looking for information from the public on Coppage. The investigation into the death of Coppage remains open and active. Anyone with information is asked to contact the New York State Police at 585-344-6200. You are listening to a reading of articles and features from the Niagara Gazette on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Come together right now. UB study shows why live music benefits well-being. Article by Bert Gambini, the UB News Center. Don't pass up those concert tickets. There might be more to the show than just great music. In fact, attending live music events can have lasting and meaningful effects on listeners' well-being, according to the result of a new study by University of Buffalo researchers. Researchers have long understood the positive effects music has on listeners, but what exactly was responsible for generating those feelings of well-being, particularly in the context of live events, was not thoroughly understood. The current UB paper offers new insights suggesting that the effects are not derived entirely from what the musicians give to the audience, but also what the audience unwittingly shares amongst themselves. This is a collective effervescence, CE, and it has an important role in concert settings. CE describes a combined sense of connection to others and a sensation of sacredness felt by people when they are in a crowd, engaged in a shared experience like a live musical performance. Across the board in all 4 studies we conducted for this paper, collective effervescence consistently emerged as a strong predictor of well-being, says Nicole Koffler, a doctoral candidate in the UB Psychology Department and the paper's corresponding author. Our evidence suggests that one of the reasons listeners benefit so much from attending live music events is because of the feeling of collective effervescence. She adds, it builds off our need of social beings to be connected to others and to be connected to something perhaps larger than our day-to-day lives. The results appear in the most recent issue of the journal Personality and Social Psychology Bulletin. Koffler and the study's co-authors used both university and community samples for their paper. In the 4 studies, the number of participants ranged from roughly 130 to 180, with one using a sample size of 290 participants. The researchers collected survey data and information from people who had recently attended music festivals. The first 2 studies established the close link between CE and music and found that CE explained the positive outcomes people report from attending live music events. The final 2 studies replicated those findings and suggested that the positive effects didn't end with the music, but could linger for days. The paper looked only at music performances and the role of CE, but Koffler notes that CE can be experienced nearly any time that people come together over a shared experience. This means there can be a lot of opportunities for increasing well-being beyond live music, says Koffler, who recently attended a concert by a classically trained harpist. And how was the experience? I definitely felt what was written about in the paper, she said. I think people should use this research as an invitation to go out and celebrate with people. Seek opportunities to connect. Lewiston considering moratorium on data centers. Town expects to introduce measure at meeting later this month. Article by Robert Creenan. At its regular board meeting later this month, the Lewiston Town Board is expected to introduce a moratorium on data centers used for artificial intelligence, storage, and crypto mining in the town. Councilwoman Sarah Wechter, who is working with Town Attorney Alfonso Bax on writing the moratorium, said that Lewiston is a prime location for data centers entities to establish operations. I think it behooves the town to start looking into writing a law prior to having any of these companies or organizations move in, she said during Monday night's work session. Wachter also noted that the town's wastewater treatment facility would be woefully unprepared to deal with the downflow such as a facility could generate. The biocides used to keep pipes clean there would destroy the binomials the plant uses for its digestion process to treat the wastewater. Data centers already operate in Niagara County, with Niagara Falls' Block Fusion facility on Frontier Avenue, Lockport's Yahoo facility, North Tonawanda's DigiPower X, and Somerset's TerraWolf facility at the Lake Mariner complex. Niagara Falls Redevelopment has proposed a new $1.5 billion data center on Rainbow and John B. Daly Boulevards in Niagara Falls. The facilities have seen a growing backlash across the country for using up land and water resources, higher electric bills, and for creating too few jobs for their footprint. Last month, the town of Dryden in Tompkins County became the first state municipality to ban data centers. State Senator Liz Kruger from Manhattan and State Assemblywoman Anna Kellis from Ithaca introduced legislation that would establish a temporary moratorium on the sitting and permitting of new data centers in New York. The Department of Environmental Conservation would come up with regulations to mitigate any negative impacts, and the Public Service Commission would report on the cost impacts of data centers on all other ratepayers. That bill is still in Senate committee. America 250 lecture series scheduled for April. Niagara History Center, Palace Theater will co-host 3 Niagara Frontier-focused talks. The Niagara History Center will host another April lecture series at historic Palace Theater, this time focusing on the United States semi-quincentennial, that is, the 250th anniversary of our country's founding, when the Founding Fathers put pen to paper to officially declare their independence from Great Britain. 3 lectures will explore aspects of early American and Revolutionary War-era history that had a deep and lasting impact on the Niagara frontier. The topics and the presenters are to answer the purpose of a fort, just as well the construction of old Fort Niagara's French castle in 1726 by Bob Emerson, Executive Director of Old Fort Niagara. Emerson's lecture is slated for 5 p.m. on April 2nd. Dishing Up History and Cooking Up Culture. Early American Culinary Fusion Along the Niagara Frontier by Aaron Barr, Ph.D. from SUNY Buffalo State University. Barr's lecture is slated for 5 p.m. April 9th. Before There Was a United States, Empire, Borderlands, and the Niagara Frontier by James Lester, Executive Director of the Niagara History Center. Lester's lecture is slated for 5 p.m. April 16th. All lectures are free to attend. In April of 2025, inspired by the Erie Canal Bicentennial, the Niagara History Center and the Palace coordinated a series of lectures examining the canal's impact on Niagara County, New York State, and the United States. In brief, History Center to host fundraiser. The Niagara History Center's annual fundraising dinner at the Seamus Restaurant will take place April 14th from 5 to 8 p.m. Alongside good food and good company, the event features a small, history-themed table game. To attend, call the restaurant directly at 716-433-9809 and make your reservations. Half of the proceeds of the dinner go to the Niagara History Center, whose mission is to preserve, promote, and interpret the cultural history of Niagara County and its share of the Erie Canal. It does that through operation of a museum and the Erie Canal Discovery Center, educational programming, special events, and easy access to its collections. Singles Meet and Greet event. Already happened, I guess. Cemetery, it's gone too. Articles from Thursday, March 12th of 2026. One of the top stories, Falls fires teacher suspended over racist joke. Superintendent says incident will be reported to state. NAACP applauds decision. Article by Mark Shear. A Niagara Falls school teacher who was suspended with pay pending the outcome of an investigation into allegations that he told a racist joke to 2 black students has been fired. Falls School District Superintendent Mark Laurie confirmed the district's decision to relieve the science teacher of his duties on Wednesday. The move followed an investigation into the allegations that the teacher made the comments in question, and a meeting with him and a representative from the teachers' union. He has due process rights, and his due process rights come with the public sector job, and I respect that, Laurie said. Fortunately, we were able to expedite both the investigation and the meeting with the union due to the severity of the situation and the seriousness of what was said. The district initiated its investigation after the 2 students told administrators at Gaskill Preparatory School that the teacher told them an inappropriate joke referencing the sale at auction of a pregnant slave. Laurie said the district determined during the course of its investigation that the student's account of the situation was accurate and that the statements made by the teacher warranted removal from his teaching job. That is a statement that is egregious enough, in my opinion, to result in immediate termination, Laurie said. The superintendent said he plans to file what's known as a Part 83 report with the New York State Education Department, outlining the district's evaluation of the teacher's conduct. He said it will be up to the state's Office of Teaching and Professions to determine if the teacher's conduct warranted loss of his state teaching license. The district doesn't have the power to remove someone's teaching license, he said. Laurie said the district also plans to implement additional sensitivity training in the future and will begin planning to do so this week. I apologize to the students, first of all. That is not what we expect in our schools, and, of course, with that is an apology to the parents and to the community, Laurie said. In a statement, Renee Kimball, president of the Niagara Falls chapter of the NAACP, said her organization believes firing the teacher in question was not only appropriate but necessary. The NAACP applauded the students for their courage in speaking up and the administrators who responded swiftly once the incident was brought forward. Racist rhetoric, especially with which invokes the violent history and generational trauma of slavery, has absolutely no place in our schools, Kimball said. Students must be able to learn in spaces free from humiliation, discrimination, or fear. When an educator violates that trust, decisive action is essential to restore safety and accountability. Kimball also described the teacher's removal as a small step in addressing what she described as deep-seated issues within the city school district. We cannot allow the removal of one individual to mask the existence of a racially hostile environment that has persisted for too long that allowed such behavior to surface in the first place, she said. The incident is a symptom of a deeper systematic issue within the Niagara Falls City School District that requires more than a single firing to cure. The NAACP Niagara Falls branch remains steadfast in advocating for an educational environment where every student, especially African American students, who are too often targets of racial insensitivity, feels valued and respected. She added, this incident underscores the need for stronger cultural awareness training, more robust reporting systems, and continuous equity-focused professional development across the Niagara Falls City School District. The NAACP Niagara Falls branch also called on the State Education Department to exercise its authority to revoke the teacher's license, describing his behavior as not only a violation of professional ethics, but a fundamental breach of trust placed in educators to provide a safe, inclusive, and respectful learning environment. This racist incident is a failure of character that warrants permanent removal from the classroom. It is our hope the New York State Education Department sees this deeply disturbing incident the same way, Kimball said. The NAACP also called on officials in the Falls School District to provide immediate support for the affected students and their families, including counseling and restorative healing services, fully paid. The group is also seeking mandatory anti-racism, culturally responsive, and anti-bias training for all employees district-wide. The school district must put in place a public plan outlining how it will prevent incidents like this from ever occurring again, Kimball said. Protecting our young people from racially hostile interactions is not optimal. It is the foundation of a just and equitable school system. The Niagara Falls City School District's work is far from over with the termination of the teacher. It has only just begun. The NAACP Niagara Falls branch remains committed to fighting for accountability and supporting the impacted students and members of their family. You are listening to a reading of articles and features from the Niagara Gazette on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. NFTA Tourism Trolley okayed to resume service in May. Free transportation service for hotel and motel guests 2026 bill is set at $641,000. Article by Rick Pfeiffer. Members of the Niagara Falls City Council have voted to approve a contract that will continue a key element of the city's tourism infrastructure. By a 4-to-1 tally, the council okayed a renewal of the city's agreement with the Niagara Frontier Transportation Authority, NFTA, to operate its May to December trolley service. Member Vincent Cawley opposed the contract after acting City Corporation Counsel Thomas DuBois said he could not immediately provide him with a draft copy of the agreement. Cawley also attempted to postpone consideration of the contract, but his motion to postpone failed to gain support from any other council member. A memo to council members from Mayor Robert Rostano laid out the terms of the agreement. The service will operate from May 22nd to December 31st. The cost is fully covered by an allocation of 1% of the city's 6% bed tax under the terms of a state law. Rostano noted that the law requires that portion of the bed tax to be spent on the trolley service and that it can be allocated to any other purpose, that it cannot be allocated. The 2026 cost of the trolley is set at $641.62. The service provides free trolley replica vehicle transportation to the guests of participating hotels and motels while traveling between the Niagara Falls International Airport and the downtown area of the city. Rostano wrote in his memo to council members, the mayor called the service desirable and necessary. Local tourism officials has described the trolley as a key people mover in the area. When the trolley service begins on May 22nd, it will operate on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays only until June 7th. Beginning June 8th through September 27th, the service will operate daily. It will return to weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday only service from October 2nd to November 1st. The trolley will be available from 9 a.m. to 12 a.m. on its days of operation. From November 2nd to December 31st, hotel and motel guests will have free access to Metro's regular fixed routes, open door, and non-trolley service. Mixing it up. 7 Brew celebrates opening of new Niagara Falls location. Article by Robert Creenan. 7 Brew is now in business in Niagara County, as its Niagara Falls Boulevard location officially welcomed customers on Thursday. The drive-through only chain opened its 3rd Western New York location in the Niagara Consumer Square Plaza Thursday morning, with cars already lining up to get some of its 20,000 drink variations. Our whole goal here is to cultivate kindness, said Jesse Billinghurst, director of new stand openings for franchise owner Brewtopia. We want everyone to leave happy and energized. We have a little bit of something on the menu for everybody to order. 7 Brew offers coffee, tea, lemonade, iced drinks, smoothies, and other drink offerings. Each stand has 2 drive-through lanes, with around 65 employees taking orders and making drinks. As part of the grand opening, 7 Brew donated $1,000 toward Galasano Children's Hospital of Buffalo for welcoming them into the area. It will hold a swag day on Saturday where every large drink order gets customers a large branded t-shirt. Another Niagara County location will open on Lockport's Transit Road Plaza at the intersection of South Transit Roads and Shimmer Drive on April 6th, with its grand opening taking place on April 9th. 7 Brew also has locations in Amherst, Dunkirk, and Brockport, with Billinghurst saying they are adding one in Cheektowaga and another reportedly in the works in Hamburg. The chain plans for 10 locations in the Western New York market. The Amherst location on Maple Road, near Niagara Falls Boulevard, has drawn criticism for its long lines spilling out onto neighborhood streets. Billinghurst said they are going to do the best they can to control the traffic in the falls. The Fayetteville, Arkansas-based chain has been expanding fast across the country, with more than 630 locations across 38 states as of January. With this new Niagara Falls stand, 7 Brew now has 15 locations in New York State. Corsaro, recalled as loving mom, dedicated Falls advocate. Longtime Kawanan business owner and civic booster mourned. Article by Mark Shearer. Candace Corsaro did a lot of things in her life. She raised a family, operated beauty salons, worked as a real estate agent, supported the local Kiwanis, and a wide variety of community-minded causes, and in her spare time loved playing bingo. At her core, in most everything she did privately and publicly, those who knew Corsaro knew how hard she worked on one of her most beloved and important activities, doing whatever she could to make her hometown, the city of Niagara Falls, a better place. She was just about her community, Corsaro's daughter, Sherry Reeves, said. She was born and raised here. She wanted to see it become a better place for her family and her grandkids and future generations. She was very much in tune with trying to create a more beautiful Niagara Falls. Corsaro passed away on Tuesday following a recent diagnosis of stage 4 lung cancer. She was 76. In addition to her daughter Sherry, she is survived by 2 other children, her daughter Melissa of Florida and her son Gilbert, who is a Niagara Falls firefighter. She is also survived by 6 grandchildren and a great-grandson. Reeves said her mom started working at age 11 in a family beauty salon operated by Corsaro's grandmother, Anna Van Epps, in her house on North Avenue. From there, Corsaro graduated from Trott Vocational, where she earned a cosmetology degree in 1968. After her children were grown, Corsaro became more heavily involved in community groups and activities, including the North End Kiwanis Club, which she joined in 1987. She also served as a member of Kiwanis International's New York District and was the organization's first female lieutenant governor from 2012 to 2018. A dedicated member of the Cristoforo Colombo Society for over 19 years, Candace was serving as a trustee at the time of her passing, said Giulio Colangelo, president of the Cristoforo Colombo Society. She was known for her kindness and unwavering commitment to our organization, frequently volunteering her time or attending functions to show her support. Her generosity and willingness to lend a hand whenever needed made her a cherished part of our community. We will miss her deeply. Corsaro was also a former president of the Niagara Falls City Block Club and was a devoted member of the Cristoforo Colombo Society on Pine Avenue. She also made several attempts to earn a seat on the Niagara Falls City Council and was always active in local civic efforts. Corsaro's obituary describes her enduring legacy as boundless generosity, creativity, and loving service through business and volunteerism. Later in life, she saw how the city was going and how it was running, and she just wanted to make it better, Reeves said. In her private life, Corsaro, who was known as a lucky person who loved to support local groups and charitable causes by being a generous participant in basket auctions and meat raffles. Reeves said, without a doubt, her mother's favorite pastime was bingo. She would have half the table filled with cards, and people would be amazed how she could keep track of them, Reeves said. Reeves said Corsaro died peacefully while surrounded by family members. A fundraiser scheduled prior to her passing has now been canceled. However, the family is continuing to accept monetary donations, which will be used to help cover burial costs, with any remaining funds to be donated to Roswell Park Cancer Institute. Visitation for Corsano was a Friday at the Lane Funeral Home. In lieu of flowers, the family is also welcoming donations to the Kiwanis Club of Niagara Falls or Hospice of Buffalo. Massive plug power project at Stamp officially dead. Company was given one of the largest subsidy packages in New York history. Article by J. Dale Schumacher. In a note in its annual report to shareholders, filed March 2nd, Plug Power made it official. The company's green hydrogen plant at the Stamp Industrial Park in Genesee County, once envisioned as the largest in the country, was officially dead. The note, just a single paragraph, said simply that Plug Power had inked an agreement to sell off the land it bought from the Genesee County Economic Development Center, plus the electric substation infrastructure it had paid for. The buyer is Stream Data Centers, which is planning a massive $19 billion data center at the site. With that, the project that previously earned local tax breaks and a low-cost hydropower allocation equal to $4 million per job, among the largest ever subsidy packages in New York, was over. What remains at the remote industrial park in the town of Alabama are two hulking globes, Plug Power's electrolyzers. Under the company's initial plan, it would have combined millions of gallons of Lake Ontario water with hundreds of megawatts of cheap power from the New York Power Authority to create 45 metric tons of liquid hydrogen daily. That would have doubled the company's total hydrogen output. The fuel was envisioned as a replacement for diesel, a way to decarbonize freight transportation as New York shifts away from fuels that emit greenhouse gases. With a $290 million investment planned, the plant's groundbreaking in 2021 attracted fanfare from Governor Kathy Hochul, Senator Chuck Schumer, and other area politicians. And as the first tenant of Stamp, the project was seen as a proof of concept for the fledgling industrial park. Plug Power planned to hire for 68 jobs. You are listening to a reading of articles and features from the Niagara Gazette on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Lewiston parts ways with Riverfront Park contractor. Town terminates contract with Lancaster's Murdoch Development. Article by Robert Creenan. Several additions to Lewiston's Riverfront Park were supposed to be available for public use back in December. A drive to the park now has fences lined up around the new pavilion and access to its shoreline. At its work session on Monday, the Lewiston Town Board terminated a contract with Lancaster's Murdoch Development Concrete and Masonry after it failed to complete work at Riverside Park. The company was hired last May to carry out the work at a cost of $987,850, with a due date of December 10th. So far, the only structure showing visible progress is a 24 by 36 foot pavilion that is currently unfinished. We sat down with the developer for the contractor, told them how important our Lower River Road Park was to us. Town Supervisor Steve Broderick said, "It's the premier park in the town of Lewiston. We really want to polish it off and make it really special." And they failed us miserably. Other plans for the park additions included a 140-foot boardwalk with fishing access, a kayak launch, a fishing pier, and a handicapped accessible ramp. Town Attorney Alfonso Bax said that not only has the work not been completed, but the work done has been deemed defective, and the requested corrections had not been completed. He added that Murdoch Development had run into issues putting pilings into the river, with Broderick saying they stopped discussions with them after deciding to part ways. In the resolution terminating this contract, the town board called on the performance bond issue by the Lexington National Insurance Corporation. That has the authority to arrange for completing the work and pay the town the costs of completion and any other damages. Broderick said they still plan on having the new park amenities open in 2026, but they do not have an exact date. The town had received $1.46 million from the Niagara River Greenways Host Community Standing Committee in March of 2024 to fund these expansions. The park itself was originally funded with $700,000 of Greenway funding back in 2018. Free Women's Wellness Day coming up in Niagara Falls. March 27th event hosted by Community Health Center of Buffalo, Inc.'s Women's Health Department. The Community Health Center of Buffalo, Inc. Women's Health Department will host a Women's Wellness Day from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. on March 27th at 2715 Highland Avenue. The free event focuses on prevention, education, and staying healthy. Information about services provided by the Community Health Center of Buffalo will be available, including women's health, family planning, and behavioral health. Additionally, blood pressure checks will be provided and STI screenings will be available. Attendees will have an opportunity to connect with various community resources, including an introduction to yoga with mini sessions offered during the event, art resources by Niagara Arts and Cultural Center, fresh veggies and fruits from Feedmore, Western New York, farm market truck available from noon to 2 p.m., financial resources from Bank on Buffalo, snacks and recipes from the Fidelis Care Lunchology program, resources about symptoms and risks for gynecologic cancers from Ovarian Cancer Project, support services provided by the New York State Cancer Services Program, complimentary hygiene tote bag from Dignity Grows Buffalo through the Buffalo Jewish Federation while supplies last. From 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., the Roswell Park Comprehensive Cancer Center EDDY Mobile mammography van will offer screening mammograms with appointments requested. Space is limited. For a mammogram appointment, call 716-986-9199, extension 4015. Staff will be available to assist attendees with scheduling appointments for women's health services and other medical care offered at the Community Health Center of Buffalo, Inc. Attendees who are age 21 or over can enter to win select concert tickets at Darien Lake. Community members are encouraged to stop by at any time during the event to learn more about available services and community resources. For more information about the Women's Wellness Day event, call 716-986-9199, extension 5007. SUNY Niagara teacher honored for superior online instruction. James Goodrich, one of 21 educators in the state to receive the honor. Article by Hal Legg. SUNY has named James Goodrich of the SUNY Niagara Fine Arts Department as a 2026 SUNY Online Teaching Ambassador. He is one of 21 educators statewide to receive the honor. SUNY Online Teaching Ambassadors are recognized annually for excellence in online instruction and for supporting high-quality digital learning. Ambassadors are nominated by their institutions and serve as advocates who share effective teaching practices with their colleagues across SUNY. Recipients are honored annually at the SUNY Online Summit. I continue to grow as an artist and as a teacher through my interactions with students and appreciate the recognition of my work at the SUNY Online Summit, Goodrich said. A full-time faculty member at SUNY Niagara, Goodrich also serves as gallery director for the Dolce Valvo Art Center on the college's Sanborn campus. In his role, he curates and installs exhibitions and coordinates events around visiting speakers. A working artist himself, Goodrich's drawings, paintings, and collages have been exhibited locally, nationally, and internationally. He holds bachelor's and master's degree in fine arts and has taught at colleges and universities throughout New York State since 1990. Goodrich said he initially had reservations about online instruction, but soon discovered the value of reaching students in new ways. As someone who had taught primarily in a studio setting, I still recall my uncertainty at the thought of teaching online, he said. I have learned that engaging in those activities that at first seemed outside of my realm of expertise are actually the endeavors that foster great personal growth and learning. I've had great pleasure interacting with students in an online format to bring them knowledge of the arts in a course called Exploring the Arts. The Dolce Valvo Arts Center is an accessible space for the public to appreciate art and understand the creative process. Its annual gallery series features exhibitions of original works and lectures presented by working artists. Niagara Aerospace Museum hosting Spring Lecture Series. Article by Robert Creenan. The Niagara Aerospace Museum will be offering 3 lectures this spring season, all on very different topics, to help educate residents about the region's aerospace history. It's a cool opportunity to show off the knowledge of our team, said Museum Executive Director Lindsay Lauren Visser, who took on the role in 2024. All the lectures will be given at the museum at 9990 Porter Road. The first lecture, happening at 1 p.m. on March 28th, is called Bell Aircraft's Rosie the Riveter, presented by David Fakes. Happening in time for Women's History Month, it will explore the women who worked the assembly lines at Bell Aircraft facilities during World War II. Museum board member Jim Van Oos will present the second lecture on April 11th at 1 p.m. called Drinking a Warhawk Home. It will be about the museum's Curtiss P-40 Warhawk, a fighter-bomber aircraft used during World War II that was built in that region, and the effort that went into moving the craft to Niagara Falls so it could be displayed here. The last lecture, set for April 25th at 1 p.m., is called What Tesla Got Wrong, Einstein versus Tesla, presented by co-founder and president of the Buffalo Nikola Tesla Council, Dr. Francis Listingi. It will go into disagreements the two prominent scientists had about the nature of nature, stemming from Einstein's theory of relativity and Tesla's rejection of it. Even if you're a passing aviation enthusiast, you'll learn a lot, Vischer said. Hopefully people will come to the first one and want to come back for the next two. Tickets for these talks can be bought through the Niagara Aerospace Museum website. Those with museum membership can attend for free. In brief, work resumes on Rapids Raymond project. The Niagara County Department of Public Works on Wednesday announced the Rapids Raymond Road Improvement Project is resuming this week in Lockport, with gas line and water line work at the intersection of Bart's and Crosby roads. Temporary traffic signals were set up Monday for alternating one-way traffic near the intersection. An off-site detour around the Bart's-Crosby intersection will be set up as construction progresses. The project area is Rapids Road between Raymond and Goodrich Roads, and Raymond Road between Rapids and Dysinger Roads. Work will continue into the summer, including reprofiling Rapids Road at the Bart's-Crosby intersection and performing cold-in-place recycling DIR on the travel lanes. The $6 million project also includes a culvert replacement on Raymond Road, south of Dysinger. The Mental Health Association in Niagara County will hold its annual meat raffle fundraiser at the St. Johnsburg Fire Hall, 7165 Ward Road, North Tonawanda, on March 21st. The meat raffle is the agency's main fundraiser of the year. Doors will open at 5:45, and the first drawing will take place at 6:30 p.m. To purchase tickets, contact Daniel Colpoys, the agency's executive director, at 716-433-3780, extension 310, or D. Colpoys, that's DCOLPOYS, at mhank.com. That's MHANC.com. MHA in Niagara County provides free mental health programming, referrals, and information for family residents and families. You've been listening to a reading of articles and features from current issues of the Niagara Gazette. We read from the Niagara Gazette every Saturday at 11 a.m. Your reader has been Bruce. Thank you for listening, and as always, make it a great day.
Coming up next in the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service, we have a reading of the Dunkirk Observer. Following that at 1 o'clock, we have a reading of some of our Northtown Bee papers, including Amherst, Clarence, Cheektowaga, Lancaster, and Depew. And then at 2 o'clock, we have the Southtown Bees, which includes Orchard Park, the Hamburg Sun, the East Aurora, and West Seneca papers. Stay with us for these readings and more. You're listening to the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Radio Reading broadcasts daily readings 24 hours a day of newspapers, magazines, and books to people who are blind or have a print disability and are provided reading radios. Radio Reading's broadcast signal is provided at no charge by WNED. From broadcast studios at 1199 Harlem Road, radio reading continues our almost 40-year tradition of award-winning service. For more information on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service, call 716. The following program is intended for listeners who are blind, have low vision, or have another print disability